Alright guys, so the fusion of Ruel has just started. I laid it all down for you guys in the plan. We're gonna go over all of that. Is there any events or tournaments you can skip and still get this champion as free to play? But also a quick reminder that I really think you want to do this fusion because apparently you can only do the rare fusions from the bazaar once as well. Therefore, you need to hoard or stock up on extra fusions. So let's jump right in. The fragment fusion event for Ruel looks pretty standard. I ran the numbers. It doesn't look like it is going to be insanely difficult compared to what Yoshi was or how hard Brogni was, right? So we're going to assume this is going to be quite normal. There is still, however, a couple events or tournaments you need to factor in because of the way the milestones are going to be distributed. So if you plan on skipping something entirely, probably won't work. Instead, you have to plan what you're going to skip, or rather, should I say exactly which milestones in which event you want to skip, and then you have to do absolutely everything else. They've made it pretty clear that they want this to be a you got to do it all now. You can't just get by doing only a handful of things. So here is the plan, and we're first going to start with the events. And first, let's look at the summon rush, because instead of having 20 fragments in here, we now have 25 fragments in here. So perhaps they're going to combine some of the earlier milestones, or they're going to maybe create 4 milestones now instead, hoping that they don't use this opportunity to push this further up. But I am saying in the plan that we're going to try and skip the last milestone. So if it's a 5, 5, and a 15 instead of 10, then I'm going to say overall try and skip that one, all right? This is a fixed amount of shards. It might require a whole lot to get there, especially if you don't have a ton of sacreds, for example. And we're about to have the 2x void event first, so then all you're left with is perhaps a couple ancient shards, and it is going to take a tremendous amount for you to get there. So instead, I'm going to focus on the champion chase tournament because you can get lucky with your pulls, and that is what we're starting with, all right? So hoping that this is not the case. As for the champion training event, for example, we have 3 milestones, or they're saying 15 fragments, therefore I'm assuming 3 milestones, and I'm going to say down the lines of Yoshi, pretty much confirming we're not going to have a 4th milestone around 12,000 points. At least I hope they don't push the last one further up. I'm also saying to probably skip one of the last milestones in that one, and then we're going to have the artifact enhancement events, which I'm thinking are going to be down the lines of Yoshi. But again, Brogni was harder, so I am budgeting for perhaps a little bit more silver on the second one, or the first one, we shall see. And then there's the Dungeon Divers event, which I didn't really put in there, but we do see it in game right now, all right? We see it's 2,000 points, so that is fairly nice because it's a little bit lower than what I anticipated. But don't forget, they sometimes do the second one, right, a lot harder. You're invested, and then they put up the second one, and then it's a lot harder. Then you kind of feel compelled to try and keep going, right? So overall, these are the stats that I'm expecting. And as I said here, we're going to try and skip the last 15 or so fragments from the Summon Rush, and we're going to try and skip the last one of the champion training event. That's just my strategy, but this is all that I can skip. Then I have to do absolutely everything else, which leads me to the tournament, where you have 2 major ones to worry about. For example, the champion chase and then the champion training tournament. Much like the summon rush and the training event, those are the only ones you sort of have a little bit of a wiggle room. So I like to do the champion chase tournament a little bit more than the summon rush now when I'm low on shards, because you can do an extra fusion, like I said before, and also because you can get lucky with your pulls. All right, so we're going to assume it's the same milestones. It should be relatively easy to do. Then for the champion training tournament, Yoshi was quite hard. The extra 10 fragments were at 8,100 milestone points. But if you look at the last milestone of the champion training tournament, it was also pretty much around this value. So you need to choose between either one, all right? However, because of how the milestones are done in the champion training tournament, your last one is a 10 fragment compared to the last one in the tournament, which is a 5 fragments. So again, if you skip this one, then you will have to probably do more of the summon rush, all right? So that is why I'm deciding to skip the ones I just mentioned. And then for the classic arena takedown, the hardest we've seen is 455 points. Again, we might have both of those values. We might have a gimme for the second one, so be a little bit careful with that. Then I did not put any of the dungeons or show you the ones from Yoshi because we already have the one from the dragon in game right now. I believe it's 1,800 points, but then expect at least 2 of them to be at 2,000 2,050 points for those milestones. And then the champion training tournament at the bottom here. Again, the values that are in red is things that I still don't know. So just, you know, don't budget necessarily around exactly this until we get those exact values. So again, be careful with that. I did try to estimate the total amount of energy. I'm saying 18,000. We do have less days than we had for Brogni. So overall, still roughly doable with the free-to-play energy at first glance. As for the silver, we have only 2 artifact enhancement events that are for less. Again, we don't know the milestone or the value of the second one or the first one, so be careful with that. Actually, this I changed it to 2,000. It should still be roughly 2,600, right? So again, we're not too sure about this. Be careful. So again, you might need a little bit more than what I'm saying down here. I need to work on the shards as well. I'm not exactly sure how many I'm going to need, but overall, this is the rundown of the milestones I am expecting with what we know in game right now. This might change, the ones that I'm deciding to skip. So again, be careful, keep checking back in. I will try to give you guys an update as often as possible so that you may get this new champion, which I did get the opportunity to try on the test server. And like I said on there, great nuker. He hits pretty hard. This skill is probably on par with like a Foley-ish, I guess, in a sense. Apparently the multipliers are 3 times his attack, but he does start with very high attack. If you can set up the combo for him to place the extra hit, then I think you're looking at close to a Trunda, which is great, but again, very hard to set up. He's certainly not going to replace my Seer in dungeons, for example, to farm with the Dragon 25. So again, do this champion for mainly the missions. That is my #1 recommendation, so that you guys have 3 fragment summons ready to go for when that mission comes up. In the meantime, start hoarding the other ones that I talked about from the bazaar. So there you have it, guys, a quick update on the plan. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Did I miss anything? Is there any error in there? Thank you so much, and I'll catch you guys later.